This segment is brought to you by the Fresh Fork in Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday. Jim Coyle with you as always, and now joined by Chronic Hoosier. How are you, my friend?
It could not be better if I tried. How are you?
I bet you it is a fine time for Indiana fans as things are very, very flying high right now. The football program 4-0. You've got the commitment from Trent Sisley with another announcement potentially coming tomorrow. This could be a gigantic week for Indiana athletics.
It's a phenomenal week to be a Hoosier. Are you kidding me? This is it's everything you could hope for. Honestly, you've got an ascendant football team. You have a resurgent basketball program right now that's not only stocked with talent for this season, but it looks like they're loading up the cupboard for the years to come. It's just a great time all around. Could not be more excited on 17th Street right now.
Absolutely. And the football program, of course, is for me, it's to cover right now. It's just fun because to watch this team go out week in and week out and get better. And as I keep looking forward and prognosticating out the things that people don't want to hear as if I'm jinxing them, I'm like going, no, I'm going to talk about what I think that this team's capable of. And I think that they're capable of a lot, which is fun because why not enjoy? I keep telling people that are all the fans, I don't have to worry about it because I don't view it that way, but I can talk about it. And I'm not a coach or a player, so I don't have to take it one game at a time. But I tell the fans, enjoy it. Enjoy the fact that your team is 4-0. Enjoy the fact that they are the topic of conversation in which they have not been for so many years. Enjoy that. Enjoy the prospect of this Indiana team starting the season 6-0, being bowl eligible with 6 games remaining.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely bonkers, and I understand. Everybody loves to steal joy. That is the unfortunate trend in this country for the last several years, at least online. You know what I'm saying? Anytime anything good happens, the haters got to come out and express their disapproval. But they're only hating because they're jealous. Quite honestly, and it's what a wild position to be in if you're an Indiana football fan. Like you said, you're 2/3 of the way to bowl eligibility. Middle of September. What is this world? Honestly, you're looking at a situation where you could be, bowl eligible halfway through the season at this point. It's insane, and you're putting up gaudy numbers. You're absolutely just setting the bar for program efficiency like we've never seen before. And I understand the degree of difficulty starts to get a whole lot steeper here heading into this weekend and beyond. But people want to act like IU's never played a subpar strength of schedule up until this point. Not the case. And it's not like there's not SEC teams doing it on the reg. I don't see other schools putting up 77 points in a game or 700 yards of offense. There's only a handful of teams that are going to come anywhere close to 200 total points by the end of September at this point. And yet this is the marvel that Kurt Cignetti's built in Bloomington. So enjoy every minute of it, because as somebody that's been an IU football fan for several decades now at this point, take a step back and recognize years like this are far and few in between. And hopefully that's not the case going forward. But being fully cognizant of where we've come from, celebrate, man. Celebrate every win. I don't care if it's against a top 25 team or an FCS opponent. You celebrate the wins. You celebrate the records. And more than anything, get comfortable feeling good with IU football, because I think this is going to be a feeling that a lot of folks are going to have to come to grips with for some time now. Indiana football can be fun. It can be exciting. It can be exhilarating. It can be something to be proud of. And I think it's important that people drop all that shame that you've been burdened with a historically subpar program. That doesn't dictate the future. That doesn't dictate the next game. enjoy what you got and recognize it for what it is, because right now it's an absolute juggernaut.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm trying to get across to people. Don't wait until they're 8-2 or whatever the case is. Enjoy 4-0, enjoy 5-0, enjoy 6-0, which I distinctly think that they get to now. Probably 8-0, very, very probable that happens, unless barring injuries or whatnot. But don't wait until you've let all those weeks go by. And partly that's what's affecting, we talk about the fans, whether they're showing up or whether they're staying. It's like, stop. What are you waiting for? You're going to wait till the end of the season? You just missed out on a whole bunch of fun times that you could have had. Tailgating is fun. You don't get to tailgate for basketball, people. So get out and enjoy it.
I got to stop you, Jim. You can't.
Well, some people might tailgate.
I've been there many times. It's not for the faint of heart. So
especially in January.
This is your easy access good time. And I'll tell you what, it's going to get a whole lot more costly going forward too. You just went from a $7 get in the door price. Now you're closer to 40. And I don't expect those prices to start dropping anytime soon. So take advantage of the savings if you're a frugal Hoosier.
Absolutely. A gigantic good land for Indiana basketball with Trent Sisley, the first of potential many dominoes to fall in a 2025 recruiting class that could be one of the absolute best in the country if things fall into place, as Jalen Harrelson making an announcement tomorrow, and Braylon Mullins is a month away, and then of course Eric Ribe, I'm not sure what his time frame is, but they're working on putting together their best recruiting class yet under Mike Woodson.
No, Woody continues to stay in his bag, man, and you absolutely love to see it. For all the success they've achieved in the recruiting trail, the haters have to come out and be like, he only does it in the spring when he should be winning. Well, now he's doing it in the fall, and now it looks like he may be putting together a successive run here. With lo and behold, all those players that everybody's completely brutalized him for not landing, being the best in Indiana. Getting them possibly down to Bloomington. And, dominoes don't start to fall, takes one, I should say, in order to get the chain moving. And you've got a huge one in Sicily. They put a ton of work in for many, many years. He's been a priority target just about since Woodson's staff took over and set up shop in Cook Hall. So that's one of those that I know has kind of been a massive target for this staff. And you love to see it. Not just for Woodson, but Adam Howard, Brian Walsh, Jordan Halls, absolutely put in everything for years, trying to make their case as to why Bloomington is still the best place for an Indiana kid to come play. And it's not just that they're not just only looking at Indiana, but that's kind of been the bugaboo here lately is, we're too busy chasing the Montverde stars. Well, what if I could give you both in the same package? Hopefully this is just the first of many here. But again, celebrate the wins, even if you have a loss tomorrow. Jalen Harrison's looking at some pretty strong options. I would love to see this staff chalk up a W against Michigan State. They have far too often been too adept at taking some of the best talent out of Indiana. So you love to see this one down to the wire with the Hoosiers in the thick of it, and you would absolutely love to see them start stacking program changing talent. And I think this has been the message for some time with this class is y'all are from here, y'all can represent here, and y'all can change the program stars. I know there's oftentimes probably an overemphasis on the impact freshmen can have as a whole. While kind of neglecting the fact that there are a few freshmen that can truly come in and be immediate impact players. This is a class that has that potential to both make an immediate impact, but as well as to pivot a program and put them back in the national conversation for conference titles, for Final Fours, and everything that Indiana openly states is the goal when you come to play here.
Yeah, it seems like it just took Woody a minute to adjust to the college game because it's taken just a year, probably longer than they should have been in this position. But there are other things that went into that, not having the greatest class that Indiana normally has last year as far as the state, and some other issues as well. But now that this is, first of all, this season could be a Big Ten championship winning season for Indiana. That is where you start. And if you've got that kind of momentum, then you've add this recruiting momentum on top of it. Now you start building the snowball rolling downhill syndrome, and you just start devouring things. And that is what Indiana fans have been looking for this program to be headed in that direction. And it could very well be, especially if things go well with an announcement with Jalen Harrelson tomorrow. And then, of course, this season has to play out. They have to do well. Indiana is going to be a favorite to win the Big Ten Conference this year, Chronic. And not only do they have to fight for the conference title, I think that they maybe need to win the conference title for Mike Woodson because of the talent that Indiana has. I think that they are probably the overall most talented team in the Big Ten. I don't know the roster of every team now that there's 1,006 teams in the conference, but it just seems like that is going to be the case.
Well, and this is also one of those years where you're about ready to turn the decade page since the last title. After this season, you would then be looking at a decade since the last title. And as you look at the history of Indiana basketball, there aren't many decades where you have that big gap in between. And when you do see those, you're usually looking at a program that's been in tumult post the millennia here. And not the least of which in the importance of this class, particularly, you've got a coach it's not a contract year by any means, but we all certainly remember the conversations of last. You need to put those to bed for the health of the program. You also have to recognize you have 6 scholarship players on this current roster who are about to expire their eligibility. And that's a massive gap in your roster to fill. Now, we've seen how you can quickly replace that and retool the roster in the age of NIL and the portal. But there is a added degree of difficulty. There's an added significance to getting this class right, simply because you're looking at a boatload of attrition just through eligibility, with the further options of, what if McKenzie and Baco skyrockets? What if Malik has a big year and he finds himself in the draft conversation? Now you're looking at replacing a majority of your scholarship athletes. And while it's certainly proven, here locally that's possible and you can do it pretty well, that's certainly also not a position you want to find yourself in on a year in, year out basis, just for continuity of your program, for maintaining the culture. That becomes really, really tough when you have to replace that many bodies, and not just bodies, but that many leaders of your program on an annual basis. And when you do find yourself in that position, you might as well go ahead and load it with as many stars as you can, but only if they jive.
That's also a major benefit of landing a Trent Sisley. This guy's a 4-star, which means he's an upper level talent, but I also see him as a minimum 3 to 4 year guy at Indiana. And that would be major because he's not going to come in. I mean, he's going to be a freshman, granted, but I think that he's someone that you could see producing in his first season, not starting, but getting minutes because he's just a battler. He's a good shooter. We'll see. But having a guy like that in your program for 3 or 4 years, that's gold dust right there.
That's ROI, man. That's return on investment. And, obviously you're going to get the best talent available. And if it happens to be a guy like Hood Schifino and you can only enjoy him for a year, by all means, you got to shoot your shot on those kids, but you also have to plan for the long term. And when you can get multiple years of production out of these guys, I think the healthier it is for the program when you can, build a foundation on guys like that. And then, you litter in your role players, you litter in your superstars. And, above all else, you find guys that are comfortable and that make themselves better when playing together. And I think that's one of the really, really intriguing parts of this potential class is these guys are super familiar with each other. They've grown up together. They've been playing in the same circuits, running in the same circles. They've had tons of gym time together. The chemistry is there. The style of play jives. It's just an ideal scenario if you can lock this up and then build. And that's the biggest thing, is no different than you saw with the Montverde pipeline. If you can get back in the graces and in the favored position as a landing spot for the top local talent, it's just an ideal scenario for the staff to find themselves potentially in.
Absolutely. Indiana taking on Maryland this weekend at IU's Memorial Stadium in the home Big Ten opener for the Hoosiers and Kurt Cignetti. He has already become the first Indiana football coach to start his tenure 4-0. I think that goes to a minimum of 6-0 chronic and potentially 8-0, which would be crazy. Indiana is about a week away. They're one win away from being ranked in the top 20, AP top 25. They were about 5 points out of that this week in 27th. So another win there should be room for them to move up. Actually, there's a couple teams that I'm like, they got to go that are still ranked, but rankings doesn't mean a lot, but it does for a program like Indiana, because they're coming from the bottom up. And when I say bottom, 3-9, 1-8 in the Big Ten last season. I've said this. I wrote this on a piece of paper and I showed it to Don Fisher a couple of weeks ago, that I expect Kurt Cignetti to not only win Big Ten Coach of the Year, I expect him to win the National Coach of the Year award this season, because of what I think that this football team is going to be able to do. And I am not somebody who is usually coming out with those crazy, bold predictions, but it's just how I see things falling out. It's not I don't view it as a fan. It's not rose-colored glasses. This is what I believe is truly feasible for this team and program.
No, I mean, let's take a step back. And I am a fan. I am a hyperbolic fan, but I can also be objective. And I objectively see a team that has scored more points than any other team in the country besides Ole Miss. Miami's tied with 27 touchdowns, but only Ole Miss has more TDs than Indiana does on offense. And defensively, the Hoosiers are 7th in the nation in points allowed. So I don't care what point. Yeah,
I don't care what
schedule you're
points
playing
per game in the second half. Exactly.
That is that's cold hard stats, baby. This is a team that can put up some points crazy efficiently, insanely efficient on third down. And this is a defense that, while they've shown that they're still human and they're still working stuff out, figures out a way to lock it down, get the ball back in the offense's hands, and let Curtis O'Rourke do what he does. Now, obviously, degree of difficulty is going to increase, but what you see right now is exactly what you've seen at every stop in Kurt Cignetti's tenure. He makes an impact on both sides of the football. He demands accountability. He demands production, and that's what he's built his program to do, and that's what they're doing. So, we talk in the off season about where the rubber hits the road, and you start putting film on tape. Y'all got eyes. Y'all see the same game we do. Y'all see the same box scores that we do. Take the subjectiveness out, and what you're seeing right now is a very competent and capable Indiana football team on both sides of the football. And yes, you might see some dip as the competition gets greater, but what you also have to keep an eye out for is these are the same guys making plays against higher level competition. And everybody said, "Oh, it's an FCS school." Okay, well, you just went into the Rose Bowl and absolutely cleaned UCLA's clock. You do that again at Maryland, what's the next hurdle they have to clear? Because they're at the top of the table of the Big Ten right now, and they're putting up top in the country numbers. So believe what your eyes are showing you, because right now you're looking at a really good Indiana football team that is probably going to keep getting better, because that's also what Kurt Cignetti's teams do.
Well, and that UCLA game, there's such a big statement because it's a brand. UCLA, their first Big Ten game in the Rose Bowl, national TV audience. Then UCLA makes it even better. They put a cherry on top by going down to Death Valley in Baton Rouge and playing LSU to a 17-17 tie at the half, which shocked me beyond belief. So that helped Indiana's cause as well. But they'll have the chance to do that themselves this week to see if they can continue allowing just 1.5 points per game in the second half, Chronic. That is a stat that there's no team in the country that can be doing that. I wouldn't imagine.
No, yeah. If memory serves, we hear a whole lot, especially during basketball season, about adjustments. About that's the true measure of a coach is adjustments. Let's apply those same metrics to the football program and tell me how you feel about Sig's Hoosiers right now.
Exactly, my friend. Enjoy it. I hope you get out to the game, although it is going to be a rainy one this weekend, possibly. We'll see how the attendance goes. That could definitely affect that. But appreciate you as always, and all the fine folks at Andy Moore Honda who brings you Chronic Hoosier this segment. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, Jim. We'll catch you next week.